Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to another episode of Mental Theater. We have a full house of Avengers. What up, Avengers?
What's going on?
Hey.
A lot going on in the cinematic universe, but first, I guess we should talk about what's happening in China, specifically with Tenet. And for that, here's a special message from probably the best director on the planet right now.
Hello, audiences in China. My name is Christopher Nolan. I'm the director of Tenet, which is a film we've made very much for the big screen. As a huge fan of cinema and epic event cinema my whole life, I like nothing more than escaping to another world through the power of movies. And Tenet is our attempt to make as big a film as possible with as immersive action as possible for the big screen. And we are extremely excited about showing it to Chinese audiences. Thank you very much.
So Mr. Nolan sticking to his gun. So when you hear something like that, Miguel, what do you think as a professional moviegoer?
I mean, it sounds like that he knows that it should be, to take it in, should be seen on the big screen, kind of like Inception a little bit. And that he's, got to stick to it because he feels like if we put it on the like VOD only, we won't get the full grasp of what his movie is. That's what it sounds like to me.
Absolutely. What about yourself, Tony Stark Jr.?
I agree. I think the most important thing Mike said is people won't get the full grasp, and actually kind of ties into what Chloé said a while ago. She said, "Listen, some movies, I'm not going to the movies, and I think that's the tie in both of them. It's like perfectly said. Like when you think of Inception and you think of any of the blockbuster movies, that type of movie you want to see in the big screen. Yeah."
Definitely. What about you, Claudiz? Are you excited to see Tenet? Because I know I'm definitely going to see it in theaters.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it gives me some more background on Inception. Y'all know how I feel about Inception. So I'm just hoping that there's no, snow scenes and that and that it ties into my theory about if he was dreaming or not.
But we still don't know if it really is part of Inception, right? That's just a rumor right now, right?
Yeah, for the most part, we don't know.
Yeah, that's in the Inception verse. So I guess we'll see when the movie comes out.
Yeah, the Inception's coming out for $5 next week, and then Regal or on the 21st, you can watch it. So
yeah, I might go see that again.
Yeah, me too. I like Inception in the theater, and that's a movie. That's a theater movie. So I would do that again in the theater. So if it's open, come on up, Tony Stark. We'll go check it out. So.
Listen, if it's in the movies and your theater's open, I'm right there with you.
Hopefully, it's drive-in, so we can go to the drive-in.
Well, the one in NYC you were talking about, that does look dope.
If the drive-ins are still open, if the drive-ins are still open, because I didn't check to see if they'll see a drive is open, but if it is, I'm sure they probably will have that.
Absolutely.
But also, hold on, Josh. Also, Nolan does have the deal of 20% of the theater gross too. So let's not forget he's looking out for his pocket as well. So which is an unheard of deal amongst directors in Hollywood. So
no surprises there with being the best director on the planet. So I mean, he does have Warner's over a barrel, but Warner's want to be in the business of Christopher Nolan, and rightfully so. And the reason why I thought this topic was very interesting, considering what's happening in China, because Mulan has moved to VOD, and they just released that they will be having a $30 price tag on the film, which I thought would be very interesting.
I have a lot to say about this, but
well, this is the platform for it, Miguel. Get into it.
Yeah, I know. So let me just be clear. It's coming to Disney Plus on September 4th, and it's $30. Now, I did find out for the $30 that you do get to keep the movie, but it's Disney Plus. So if you don't have Disney Plus, you're paying for the subscription and then an additional $30. So I think that's just a lot of money, for one movie. Now, it's coming to the movies and VOD, not just VOD. So you will have opportunity if you can go to the movies. However, I just feel like that it'll be on Disney Plus by itself in 3 months. So I'm not paying $30 now on top of my subscription for Disney Plus, but I can get it for free on Disney Plus in 3 months. And I just feel like that's a high, price tag. And if you don't have a subscription, I'm almost paying you to then pay you again to watch a movie. I just think that's a lot. And in that movie in particular, maybe if it was like Black Widow or something like that, but I just couldn't do it for Mulan. My thoughts.
I think it's a cheap price. $30. Like, think about it. Yeah, it's cheap. That's very cheap. And you get to keep it. If you have 3 or 4 kids, listen, if you have 3 or 4 kids and you're taking them to the theater one time and you don't have the movie subscription package like you have, Big Mike, Fallen Mike over there, you're going to pay like $100 for one movie trip and you don't get to keep the movie. It's a bargain for me. If I had 4 kids, if I had 2 kids, because think about it, you got 2 kids plus 2 friends, plus the popcorn, plus the adult ticket, that's easily going to run you $150 for one movie. And this is Mulan, and you get to keep it. And parents probably already have Disney Plus anyway. And Disney's smart because I don't know if you're going to have to keep the subscription, but like, why wouldn't you have Disney Plus subscription if you have kids? It's like not having Cartoon Network.
Go ahead, Tony. I rebuttal after she's done. Go ahead.
All right. So I think she is onto something only because if you bought a movie today that just came out on DVD or Blu-ray or digital, right? That's going to be close to $30, right? Usually you get like the digital copy, the 4K Blu-ray copy, the Blu-ray copy, right? And usually that's about $30, right? We all agree in agreement. Well, notice what I said when that movie comes out. Because that movie already been in the movies probably 6 months ago. So this is unheard of that you're going to be able to buy a movie day one to own and keep, right? That's in the movies. Like that's not a thing. So $30 is a pretty good price tag to own a movie on day one that people are going to movies to see. So you skip that 6-month wait for it to come to DVD and digital and all that. That alone, I mean, you got to think of it that way. I get what you're saying. $30 seems hefty. But Chloe's what she's saying is you're buying that movie. You're not renting it, right? Like you're just renting it. That's your movie now. So then you go buy a movie now, you got to wait 6 months for it to be released, or 3 months, or whatever. So you're skipping a line. I think it's value there. And her point with the whole kids thing. I know, taking kids to. I got to think at one point we had 6 kids, right? My 4 and Sandy's 2 going to the movies. Like, so if you could have just bought a movie for $30, again, I think the important part is getting it day one, right? Maybe I get in your head, you're like, oh, it's kind of expensive, maybe, right? But it's day one. That's important to me. It's day one. You're owning this movie day one. Like that doesn't happen unless you pirate the movie. They got to take that in consideration because that's special. Yeah.
All right, I'll come back. Go ahead, Josh.
To be fair, wait, one more point. To be fair, they could have just said, no, you don't get to keep it, and we're going to you could pay $30 to stream it from your home. I would pay the $30 to see Mulan one time. I'm not going to not pay the $30. And guess what? It's Mulan. We grew up on Mulan. Like, who's not going to go see Mulan?
I'm not going to see it. But
when it first comes out.
But I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up on it.
But we're also in a quarantine, and kids are driving their parents crazy. You don't think that the parents are like, oh, I could just pay this $30 and keep my kids entertained all day long?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I mean, the value is you just bought Mulan day one for $30. Other people are going to the movies to watch it, and that's it. And you just bought it for $30. Yeah, that's value.
Go ahead, Miguel.
All right, so a lot to unpack there. So, number one, you only get to keep it if you keep your Disney Plus subscription. It's a part of Disney Plus, which means essentially you're paying more than $30 because you're paying $7 every month for Disney Plus.
No, don't look at it like that. So that's not fair. You already had Disney Plus.
I did.
Anyway,
everybody
right?
else.
No, listen. What I'm saying is, if you already had Disney Plus, so you're saying what your point is. So you got to specify it. What you're trying to say is if you did not have Disney Plus, then to you it's not a good value, right? That's what you're saying?
Well, they're literally saying we're putting this out here to see if we can get more subscribers. So they're putting it out to get new people to sign up for it and whatnot.
Right. And that's fine. It's business. That's fine. I mean, the value, listen, here is two things, right? If you see value in Disney Plus, and if you see value in that movie, then I don't see a problem, right? It's not like they're suckering you, right? You know, at the end of the day, Disney, you guys all have it. Disney Plus has a ton of value. So $7 a month and you get this movie, that's a huge value. Like, I don't see the great at all, you know?
Also, let's be real. It's Disney. So it's probably going to be you get to buy Mulan and you get 3 months free of Disney Plus.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't
Then
know.
I won't throw that in there because that's not stated. But either way, what's on the table is a huge value. But let me hear what you got to say.
All right.
Sorry.
Secondly, I want to say that when people are saying like, well, if I take my kids, first of all, that only works if you take multiple people. If you're like, you know, going by yourself, it's a horrible deal for you at that point, even more so. But when people do say, if I take my kids to the movies, I would have spent more money on the ticket and popcorn and yada, yada, yada. I think everybody's forgetting the one thing. It's the movie going experience. We never paid for the actual movie. We paid for the movie going experience, to be in a theater, to have the movie theater popcorn, to enjoy the IMAX screen and stuff like that. You can't compare, same price I would have paid, but you're not getting that experience at all. You're just in your house, in your pajamas. So I think it's like, it's not just the same. And
let me ask you a question. What holds more value? That you got to see it one time, an amazing experience, or you got to own it?
It depends. Look, somebody like you who don't watch movies over and over, what holds more value?
Yeah, probably going to the movies.
That's what I'm saying. So it depends on who you are, I guess, at that point.
But I think a movie like Mulan, let's be clear, like, again, I'm not going to see it, but again, it wasn't my generation. But like a movie like Mulan, I feel like the bigger value for me probably would be buying it versus I'm not gonna be like, oh man, I seen it in the movies. But like, hey Anthony, you could buy it and own it day one, or you could go see it in the movies. Like, you know, that movie you might want to buy and own.
I almost think. Go ahead, Chloe. You about to say something?
Josh, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Who do you agree with in the peanut gallery over there?
All right, so the way I see it, and everyone's making amazing points here. So I agree with everyone, right? But at the same time, I'm looking at it demographically. So one of my main points is what Chloe said and alluded to is the whole kids aspect. In addition to Tony's point, so the fact that you also get to own it as well. So imagine, because again, it's coming out, as Miguel said, September 4th, around that time. So regardless of what actually happens, school's slated to start. And as we know, as kids growing up, we want to be on top of everything new that's going on there. So we're part of the conversations. I feel like that's where the whole aspect of spoiler, I guess, fear of spoilers comes from, is being a part of those discussions at school with your friends and not being able to participate. So, and as we know, parents will literally sell their kidneys just to appease their kids for 30 minutes. So they get to watch the movie and see it instantly when it comes out, when it has its most value. As we know, this content has its most value when it's new. It's the novelty about it. And I agree with the whole movie going experience as well. But the same aspect, how delivery and drive-through is becoming more and more popular. People like being at home. And the same thing with sports. Some people rather be on their couch than actually going to the actual game. That's, to me, they're actually paying for, that's the value for them, especially in our society now with technology. And then I was curious, I was being me, and I was actually looking at the box office sales, like the amount of actual tangible tickets sold per film, and looking at Disney's pricing strategy. So just for just to give some context, a movie like Endgame, which had about 250 million tickets worldwide, about 93 million in the United States. So if you think about a movie like Mulan, obviously it's not going to sell, even if without the pandemic, it wasn't going to sell that much, but it could sell about, let's say, maybe 100 million tickets, 150 million tickets. So then I'm looking at, all right, Disney Plus as well, because I agree with Chloe. You're either going to have a year-long subscription, same way that they did for you, Miguel, as a Verizon customer, right? So $30 for a year long, so they can also add that to their total of subscribers for their stockholders, as you know, Miguel, which is going to help a lot. Even if it is 3 months or a year, that's still going to be immense value. So you might be able to get more subscribers that way. But imagine if you're able to actually get it, buy it and watch it without being a subscriber with that. So to me, that'll add that price and that value. So you can have potentially, if you have around 60 million people who have subscribers already, and if you get around, let's say 20 million people conservatively to buy and watch Mulan. So what's this, quick math here, 20 million times 30. I mean, hey. Yeah.
That's pretty serious.
That's some money. In addition to, like you said, Miguel, they're still going to release it in the theater. So they're getting money many different ways. So I think they're diversifying their profits here. Yeah. And I do think it is about demographics, because again, the whole aspect of Disney Plus when it came out was the nostalgia to see all the old things that you haven't seen in a while. So you're going to have people in our demographic who want to go see Mulan, see if they do it justice, right? And people don't have patience anymore, so they're not going to wait 3 months to get it for free.
Yeah, those are all valid points. I think the biggest one is that the change in society, in the world, on top of the pandemic, where people are just have to be at home now, stuff like that. And I think unfortunately, this might be the first steps of taking away the movie going experience, to be honest with you, for people like myself. But I definitely can see, that point of it overall. Because, Bill and Ted is doing the same thing, coming out on VOD, same day, I think, as Mulan. Also, Antebellum is coming out on VOD. So a lot of, this is probably the biggest movie to come out on VOD, Mulan, but it's a bunch of the other movies that are coming out on VOD as well. So. But I'm like Tony something. I know you didn't grow up with it, but you saw the trailer. You weren't interested in the trailer of the movie?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't watch the cartoon, so I'm weird. Like if let's say a movie come out, a video game movie, right? And I'm a gamer. Right. If I didn't play the game, I probably won't go see the movie. It's very hard for me to see something that I feel like I wasn't a part of. I guess I got this like ownership issue, right? Like if I'm on board, I'm on board. If I'm not on board, I'm not on board. So yeah, I didn't see Mulan. Yeah, I didn't see the cartoon. I didn't see it. And so the movie for me is just like, because I feel like I just didn't see where it came from, Now, if I seen the cartoon, then I'd be like, oh wow, now I want to see it. But I feel weird. It's like building blocks, right? It's like I just skipped somewhere. So I had no interest at all. And I'm sure it's gonna be great. I'm sure the cartoon was great. I just, for whatever reason, I guess maybe my kids seen it with their mom, or maybe it was old. I don't know, but I just never seen it. And
I actually never seen it either. I was too old to go see that by the time, but it looked like a dope movie to me. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah. I think you would like it. Yeah.
Like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon without the special effects.
I guess something like that.
Is it on Disney now? It's on Disney Plus now, the first one?
Yeah, the cartoon is there. Yeah, it's on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really for me, so I'm not gonna see it, and it's not like I'm gonna rewatch the cartoon. I feel like I was forced to watch it anyway, so I was like, that's not really on my, let's say, Disney cartoon all-star list. It's not even in top 10.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm wondering because Widow only comes out a couple months later in November. I wonder would it keep the same model for Black Widow, or would I try to come out in theaters only? So that's very interesting.
Well, think about it this way: Mulan will be the perfect movie to test the waters. Like Josh said, it is a big movie, but it isn't like an end game, right?
Right.
So this is a perfect way to test the waters. Like, let's see how much we could do. Like Mulan is kind of perfect. So many kids are gonna want to see it. So many parents gonna want to see it because it's like classic. So it's like, okay, let's take a movie that theoretically will make a lot of money in the movies, but also resale down the road. A lot of people will buy it on DVD, Blu-ray, digital, whatever. So let's do this thing where we put it out in the movies and on to purchase at the same time, and let's see what happens. And this is the perfect movie, I think, to get that get the data on, and then see what happens.
There we go. What are our thoughts?
Absolutely. in addition to what's going on Disney Plus, apparently Marvel is in talks with, kind of talks with the creator to have an animated X-Men series and relaunching that. And did anyone a fan of that when that came out?
Yeah, but it all depends on which one you're talking about. Remember, they kept doing the X-Men cartoon a couple different times, but I was a fan of obviously the original that was probably in the 80s. So, but I was also a fan of the newer ones, but the original one was more my thing. But again, like we all talked about, we all know for whatever reason, X-Men was way more popular than like the regular Marvel heroes. So that has nostalgia, and it had so many iterations of the cartoon. So everybody kind of grew up with the X-Men cartoon being popular. So I would be interested in it.
That one that Josh is showing right there, I think that was early 90s, like 92 or something like that. I was super into that show, and the writers were amazing, especially if you go back and watch it. The storylines were continuous, which I thought was dope for a cartoon. They had like shows where it'd be like a 3-part episode arc, and that was every Saturday, which you rarely see on cartoons as well. And the X-Men, as like Tony was saying, they were more popular, but as well, it's so many mutants. Like you got characters for years with the mutants.
Right.
That you can keep going and keep going and keep going. There's like look at the New Mutants. They're part of the comics too. People don't even know about them. Like there's so many mutants. It's a lot, and I feel like it'll be dope and let kids really, because it's almost like opposite now. I feel like the kids are less interested in the X-Men and more into Avengers. Right. And like you said before, it was the other way around. So to kind of reintroduce the X-Men before you make an X-Men movie, I think it'll be a great idea. To be honest with you.
I agree. When you think of heroes and you think of comic books and you think of powers, I don't think there's any more diverse comic books with powers than the X-Men. First of all, they're mutants, right? So the powers that be behind comic books figure we're just gonna come up with so many different powers, right? So you got somebody that could fly like a Superman or whatever, but the X-Men realm is just so many different diverse powers. People walking through walls, people teleporting, people turning to steel. Like no other comic books is that diverse when it comes to power. So if you could pull this off in a new cartoon for the kids, like Mike said, and then rebrand it as that's serious.
Yeah.
What do you think, Diz?
So if I remember correctly, I used to watch X-Men after I got home from school, in addition to like the Animaniacs and the Gargoyles and the WB shows with the frogs. I wasn't huge into X-Men cartoons, but I did love X-Men movies. So like I wasn't the type of kid to watch the X-Men cartoon. It would just be on the TV in the background while I was like playing with Barbies or something. So like I don't know. I love the X-Men though. The movies caught my attention. Like I had to go see every movie. So I'm excited. I mean, I think the kids will like it because we liked it, but I didn't really even know who the Avengers were really until I got older. The movie came out. So like as a person, and I used to read comic books, but the comic books I read was like Spider-Man and Batman. So like it'll be interesting. I think that they're like them having a cartoon will have an impact on different audiences like me, because I don't really like, depending on the animation, I won't watch the cartoon.
So I love that you said that. I love that you say that, because I was waiting to say, well, wait a minute, because it all depends. Like I'm a big Transformers fan, but when they remade the Transformers and it was really childish. It was that funny looking, like matter of fact, the Star Trek cartoon, the animation style that they show for that, I'm not watching it. Like you just lost me. You lost me. So for me, I need that serious looking like this. I need the graphics to be like it's more serious. If I got like the characters with the big eyes and the real big head, then for me, you lost me.
Yeah, it's funny because
anime. I don't like watching anime. I like watching like the cute like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends or like Powerpuff Girls. That's the closest to anime I'm getting.
Gotcha.
First of all, I do want to say, Chloe, Gargoyles was an underrated cartoon. That was actually really good too, as well. I want to say, and yeah, even this this animation style is from the early '90s, but it still holds up. I was watching Disney Plus, like like last month or whatever, and it's still, but they can do better, I'm sure. And with the X-Men, well, first of all, shouts out to New Rockstars, who's doing a rewatch series right now for the original X-Men movies, and he's going through frame by frame, giving you all the Easter eggs you didn't know about. And I've been watching that; it's on there right now. But yeah, I think that'll be the way to go. And I want to ask Tony, do they have any good X-Men games that you ever liked?
Yeah, they had a game called X-Men Evolution. It was a fighting game, and that was really cool. It was kind of groundbreaking at the time. I believe it's called Evolution, and it was really cool. But it was a fighting game, so they was able to get away with it. Back in the day on Nintendo, there was a really good X-Men game for Nintendo. Matter of fact, it was the first X-Men game on Nintendo, and that was pretty cool. And then probably one of my favorite arcade games to date is the X-Men game, because it was 6 players in the arcade.
Oh yeah, that was dope. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So they had a couple of good X-Men stuff, but they never like nailed it. They never had like with the better graphics and better technology, they never had a really good X-Men game. So, and a fighting game kind of doesn't count for me because it's just a fighting game. You can take any characters and make them fight against each other. But I'm talking about like a sandbox, walk around, look like Grand Theft Auto, but you could walk around and have special powers. Yeah, they never made a really good one. They had a really good Wolverine game. Yeah, that was my game. That was my game. But yeah, the Wolverine game was really good. Like you could, when he gets shot up, you actually see like holes in him, and then it comes back. The Wolverine game was pretty good. That was on like PlayStation 3 or 2.
So I was thinking if they could bring out a new cartoon or even maybe the movie, they'll probably bring out a new game, like like what you're talking about, more like a role playing style. And whatnot.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
I mean, I'm sure Josh is going to bring it up, but that Avengers game.
Oh yeah, it's on the agenda. We'll get there, Tony.
Yeah, I seen on the little picture. So.
But I'm actually curious because I know, because it's under the Disney umbrella, and we'll get into Umbrella Academy in a little bit. I think they might have more of a Clone Wars type of animated style for this X-Men cartoon, because I just feel like the kids now are more used to those things. So even things like Paw Patrol, all those all the cartoons now are more like animated in that manner. Right. So I don't think it'll be the let's say the 2-dimensional that we grew up on. It'll probably be more 3-dimensional, where you see from things like Pixar, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends the way they make it look. Now, let's say this. Are you guys paying attention? Now, Netflix, I give credit to. Netflix keep coming out with like the animated or CG stuff, and it looks good. Like Netflix came out with Voltron. They came back out with Castlevania. They just recently came out with a Transformers. You guys got to check that out. I didn't watch it yet myself, but I got to check it out. So they rebranded Transformers. They did Godzilla, a 3-part like thing where it was like an hour-and-a-half episode, 3 episodes. And that's the graphics I'm talking about. The Netflix rebranded shows, the graphics look really good. And there you kind of sold me. Like I'm in.
By the way, Netflix apparently added a new feature that had to do with, oh my bad, Big Mike, but had to do with you can adjust the replay.
Yeah, something like that, right? How do you adjust it? I forget. What is it?
Because I know Chloe loves listening to things fast forward. For me, it's not really my thing, but I'm sure she would enjoy that feature.
Josh, say what you said again. Netflix did what?
I enjoyed my time. If a movie's 30 minutes and you fast forward it, I could watch it in 15.
So they did what, Josh?
They similar to YouTube, where you can adjust the playing speed. They did the same thing on Netflix. What were you about to say, Big Mike?
I was about to say I'm more about the. I hope the graphics are decent enough, but I'm more about the story. Hopefully they have good writers on the cartoon again, so where like the story is captivating, keeps me interested and stuff like that. So
well, here's what's hard, right? It's like meeting a woman, right? Visually, like you kind of got me. Now I'm intrigued. So it's like the same thing with the cartoons. If you got the little kid with the big heads, Like I'm not even gonna give it a time, but it could have been an amazing cartoon. So it's like I feel like, man, that's hard because people are like, yo, you really should see that. And it's like, I mean, I guess like not to be funny, but Enter the Spider-Verse. I seen the little pig with the big head. I was like, nah, and never watched it until I started talking to you guys. Like I literally, and it was really good. But for me, the art style is important. Like you know, because I grew up where the art style was like you had G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Thundercats, like all of that. The art style was good, right? And then you know that for me, cartoons looked good. Like wow, the drawing was good. And then as it got, you know, people figure, oh, kids want the little big heads, you know, and it's like, wow, I was a kid and my art style looked great. So for me, you know, I can't get into it. But if you people recommend it, it's like, listen, I know they look funny, but it was great. You know, like Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack was good and the art style wasn't great, you know, but it also wasn't bad. And then to like Chloe's point, I was a fan of Powerpuff Girls.
What? Oh my God.
I was watching that with my kids.
Why am I not surprised by that?
You know why? Because Powerpuff Girls was like first of all, each one at the time had 3 kids. So each one of my kids, I was like, you're one of those characters. And it sucked because my son had to be one of them, but oh well, right? And so I would watch it with them and they would be so into it. And it was my way to get them into more like action movies because especially my 2 daughters, like the Powerpuff Girls was action, intense. They flying and punching. Like it was pretty much superheroes, but with little big heads. So at that point, my kids was at the right age for Powerpuff Girls. But other than that, you wouldn't have caught me watching it by myself. But because I sat through it with them, I was like, yo, Powerpuff Girls was good. But if I never had because my kids hooked me into it, then I would have never gave it a chance, you know?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, I would have missed out. I'm sure I missed out on a lot of great stuff.
Absolutely. And the next stuff that's coming out is apparently Shang-Chi, the 10 Rings. And we actually heard about this, you know, with the real Mandarin and Iron Man 3. So I'm very curious to see what Marvel does with this, because apparently this is supposed to be Marvel's version of Bruce Lee. And they're actually going to have an Enter the Dragon type of format with the whole fighting tournament and whatnot. So I'm excited to see what they do with this. And I'm hoping there's going to be a Tony Stark cameo in it, which I think will be dope. And for those who don't know, the backstory apparently is there's these space dragon aliens that crash on Earth, and they have the 10 rings, which is similar to the Infinity Stones. They're not as powerful, but when you have 10 rings together and they're kind of sentient, just like the Infinity Stones, and when you put them together, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. So it's like one ring to rule them all, but you got 10 of them.
Sounds cool. I never knew much about that at all. But I think the coolest thing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're literally making characters who wasn't popular. So it's like I feel like if you're already linked in, right? Like we sat in this seat and we put our seatbelt on and we've been along for this ride. So I'm pretty sure most of us on the panel, we're just gonna watch it just because it's connected. Like Marvel's greatest strategy was showing that every single movie isn't just a standalone. It will be connected in a universe. So I'm in already.
I think demographically, it'll definitely do well in the Asian community as well. I think the connection Tony's talking about is what's going to keep people watching it a lot. I think similar to Guardians of the Galaxy when it first came out, people didn't know who the hell they were or what's going on with them, but that connection, made it real popular. And if you can make a good movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, then you have a whole new fan base. You're selling more merchandise and stuff like that. So it always depends on how the movie, how well the movie is done, as well. But I think Marvel they just know what they're doing at the end of the day. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of knowing what they're doing, now we're in the video game section, and we can now talk about So Kobe,
Pretty cool.
you wanna talk about the Stadia Avengers and your channel and how the gameplay has been? I've seen a little bit of gameplay. I don't want to spoil it for myself, so I don't want to watch too much. But every time you were on, I was trying to support.
No, I appreciate it, and definitely I feel like I don't like spoilers, so I tried to do a deep dive into this beta, and so definitely stay away from it. But yeah, guys, I came up with a channel specifically for the Avengers game, but as well as the platform Stadia, which I like. But the cool thing is this game is going to be the same on every platform, so you can still check out my content even if you aren't a Stadia supporter. But yeah, the game. So we talked about earlier, Mike asked me, was there ever a good X-Men game? And there was, but there wasn't, right? So with the limited technology it had, probably the best X-Men game was the one on regular Nintendo because it was so limited, but it did great for its time, kind of like a 2D side scroller, right? Well, you fast forward to now, you always, for me, this is my motto. I want to see a game that's not a first person, right? I want third person where I can see my whole character, and I want it to be similar to a Grand Theft Auto. We all know Grand Theft Auto is still the best-selling game of all time, Grand Theft Auto 5, right? No game has surpassed that yet, right? So it's, you see your whole character, you walking around, you could get in cars, you could drive around, you could pretty much is like real life, right? With the characters. So for me, if you can pull that off with superpowers, then I feel like you did the gaming community some service. So this game, I was so interested into it, and I created the channel before the beta even came out because I said, I got a feeling they're going to get it. First of all, I'm not going to go so into it because we already talked about it in the show. So guys, make sure you watch the previous episode. But they nailed it, man. From actually getting to play the beta now that it's out, everything I wanted it to be, or I hoped it would be, and now I got my hands on it. I can honestly say, if you're a fan of video games and comic books, and specifically the Avengers, it's for you, man. It's for you. Like the gameplay, the controls is spot on. The characters look like they should look is spot on. To think you can be Iron Man flying in the air, and I'm Black Widow running on the ground, and Hulk is jumping. I mean, what you see in the movies, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. And then this game called Anthem, I'm not sure how many of you guys know about it, but it broke like gaming. Like it made multiplayer flying something you never did before. You could be like a mech, like a little, pretty much Iron Man. Whenever I play Anthem, I'm like, dude, this is Iron Man. And you jump in the air and fly and hover, but they can't stay in the air forever. The Avengers game, it goes past that. You could be Iron Man and just stay in the air, fly, punch. It's amazing. So long story short, guys, this game, me personally, it's going to be already from the beta. It's going to be my favorite game for the year. I don't know if it'll win game of the year because typically a stuff like this won't get it. It would be something more story driven, like Last of Us Part 2, probably win game of the year. But yeah, guys, it's definitely. Like Mike, I seen your one comment and you said it almost make you want to play the game, and you're not a gamer currently. You used to be, and for people who aren't gamers, used to be gamers, are a gamer. If you're into fantasy, you want to have that power fantasy. I would say like big explosions, like the movies. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the trailers and when I see part of the gameplay, it gives me that same, let's say, that chilling feeling that the Arkham series gave me, because playing that game, oh my gosh, I think that was literally the best simulation for being Batman that I've ever experienced. Like you are literally Batman, everything he can do, driving the Batmobile, flying, grappling, all that, like everything that Batman could do, you could do in that game. So I can't wait to play this game. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. What's cool is they said the Batman game was considered the best comic book game, superhero game of all time until the Spider-Man game came out. So the recent Spider-Man game, it's just they compare it so close to the Batman game, but they feel like they just went a little step above with the extra detail. I feel like this Batman game to me may get the credit, even though I'm not a Batman fan, but you could still drive in vehicles, which is like, wow, not only are you running around playing Batman, and it had the level of you're a detective. You had to figure out clues and stuff, right? So Spider-Man game added a little bit of the clues, but obviously Spider-Man don't driving the vehicle, right? You know, his mobility is swinging. But yeah, the Avengers game is it gives you everything you want in a video game of the Avengers. And then on top of that, since we were talking about Spider-Man, Sony announced that Spider-Man will be an exclusive character in the Avengers game only for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So that,
yeah.
Listen, if I'm be honest, if I didn't make my channel, because I found out that news a couple days after I made the Stadia channel, that would have got me to be like, all right, I think I'm gonna get it on PlayStation. But because I'm not a Spider-Man fan, but that is huge. That's a big deal. And then what they did in the game, so you figure like, really, how are they gonna have Spider-Man? Black Widow and Miss Marvel, they could both, when they mobility, they jump and like swing on a grappler hook. And when you see it, you're like, dude, this is they could put Spider-Man in the game. And then a couple days later, we find out Spider-Man is in the game.
But only for PlayStation.
Only for PlayStation. And right now they don't know if it's a timed release. So if it's like you know, maybe for a year first. But right now, you could only get Spider-Man in the PlayStation version. And I think if it is a time release, Sony's gonna be smart enough not to give you that information until after the game comes out. Like my son, he's like, man, I want to play it with you, and he was gonna get Stadia, but he was like, I gotta have Spider-Man. So he literally got the prepaid for the version for PlayStation because he gotta have Spider-Man, and it's brilliant. If I was Sony, I would have did it too, or any company. I mean, it's business, man. Yeah, the video game community is at an uproar right now. Like Xbox players are mad.
I mean, what would they expect? Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man. They always have.
But it's different with video games. So here's the cool thing. I said the same thing too, but video games is different. So the video game. So think about it. Like you can have Spider-Man on a different platform. So what happened was, before, the way video games were, they would come out with a movie, or like Chloé was saying, right? Like, oh, the X-Men, then you figure they have a video game, right? So it would be a rush job. So that's why all the video games was kind of terrible that came out based off of like the X-Men or the whatever, right? Because it was a rush job. Now the way they're doing it is they're bidding, and they're having bigger, better companies that's going to spend a longer amount of time and make a quality game. So Sony just got the bid when they came out with the Spider-Man game. It wasn't just because it's Sony. Like it's a whole different layer when it comes to video games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Pretty cool though. But yeah, I mean, if video games get a bad rap of being bad, the Spider-Man game, I mean, the Batman game was the first comic book game in like this jet, right? Like, not, we're talking about Nintendo and PlayStation 1 and 2, like PlayStation 3 and 4 and up. The Batman game was the first comic book game to really grab people like, whoa, this is like everything Josh said, everything Batman you can do, and it looks great and feels great. It's two things. The game might have great graphics, whatever, right? The hardware can support great graphics and look good, but will they get the gameplay spot on, right? Will his utility belt be able to pull out a grappler hook? Will he be able to throw a batarang and it comes back? And they nailed it. Same thing they did with the Spider-Man game. So now they're making better quality video game comic book game.
And the whole aspect of gliding with the cape, I mean, that was incredible. But I have to give credit to this game when it first came out, right? I mean, I had the same feeling about this game as well. Right. This was magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, for its time, yeah, it did what it could do, to be fair. Because I still feel like Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction was my favorite video game, my favorite comic book game. That game was amazing. You know?
By the way, Mental Theater on Instagram will be dropping a special meme dedicated to Tony Stark Jr.'s infatuation for the Hulk later. I can't wait for that.
I'll be waiting for it myself. Yeah, but honestly, what they did cool in this game, and then I'll let it go, is because they was given the rights for everything Marvel, so all 80 years of history of Marvel, they're smart. They took scenes from different movies and put in the game. Like, remember the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk in the beginning where it showed him running through the walls in that factory and they're blowing up? They got a scene like that. Literally, you think like, whoa, that was from that. They got where he grabbed characters and he swinging them around and smashed them. Like, remember the whole puny god thing where they did with Loki? You could grab characters and just like that. Like, they've took images and scenes from movies, from comic books, and just put it in the game. Like, Black Widow's probably my favorite character right now. she got this grappler hook where she could punch, hit you, kick, jump, flip, kick you, and then her grappler hook pull you to them. And oh man, it's
oh wait, one of your favorite characters, and she's not an actual superhero, which is very interesting, Tony Stark.
I know. You know what gave? Here's what's cool, Josh. In video games, the Batman game was considered the top game because, again, they stole it from Assassin's Creed. But Assassin's Creed had the whole, you throw a punch, and when you hit the triangle, you dip and hit back, right? Remember that? How amazing that was, right? Yeah. But Batman took it to a level. So imagine, Assassin's Creed is a new IP. You never heard of it, whatever. You like it. Gameplay's great, graphics, whatever. But whenever they do something good in gaming, but then do it with a character you know and love, right? It's even more. So imagine when they put the Batman game out, and again, all that they stole it, whatever you want. But when you punch that Batman, like you have 3 or 4 characters, Josh punching, and Batman's blocking and punching him, and it was like, what? Well, Black Widow has that feeling, and so the demo only let you use Captain America for a little bit because in the game he's supposed to be dead, so I don't know if he really is or not. But and when I first picked him, I was like, okay, I played the Hulk and I played Captain America. I was like, oh my God, his gameplay. I mean, it's like what you see in the movies. Like you got people punching, he's blocking, kicking them, he's flipping over them. Well, you get to play with Black Widow more than him. So maybe I might like him more. But for right now, man, Black Widow, I'm loving. Like she could use her hologram, her like turn invisible. Like she's just, I mean, she got so many. Each character have a ton of things they could do. And but her gameplay, her fighting, it reminds me of the Batman. Josh, you trust me. If you play it, you'll be like, oh, now I know what he's talking about. Like her combos, punching, kicking this person, flip kick, jump in the air, land. Like, oh man, it's like Hulk is cool, but he's not doing what she's doing. You know, he's more just grabbing you, smashing you, throwing you, pummeling over you. Where you can feel like you're in a martial arts, like you feel like you're Batman, kind of sort of.
So would that make you like those type of characters in movies more than who don't have the powers?
No, because in the movies I'm not playing, I'm just watching. So it's different, right? So in the movies, I'm just sitting back watching, right? And I want that super powerful jump high in the air, fly, whatever. You know, I want the unbelievable stuff that you can't really do, you know? Now, if you give me a game where you got all these different characters, yeah, Hulk is cool, but it's different from feeling like, again, that's why Batman was so good. And that's why the Spider-Man game is so good. Spider-Man, the punches and kicking and flip kicking and combos. I mean, Hulk, you could do some cool combos too. Don't get me wrong. Like you could knock somebody in the air, jump in the air and be doing combos. But when you do it with Black Widow, it's a sense of the impact is what make it feel really good. Like if you ever play Streets of Rage, it came out with part 4 26 years later. It came out a couple months ago. And they said they really did a deep dive on making it each hit feels like, okay, when you punch the person, they feel the hit, and then your next hit, like it's something about the impact where Hulk is just so big. He's just, you feel the big, it's unreal. It's not natural, right? So if you did martial arts and you actually hit somebody for real, it's Black Widow and Captain America and Batman, you get that feeling of realism, like a Streets of Rage, when you're hitting somebody with a combo and an uppercut and their body go back. But the Hulk is so big, when he hits you, it just doesn't feel natural because that's not real, right? So it's something about playing a character and feeling like, wow, you know.
Gotcha. And speaking of games, were you at the arcade, Chloe?
This is the basement.
Oh, okay.
We have
several arcades
and Sega.
That's pretty dope, actually.
I'm a huge Pac-Man fan. Huge Pac-Man fan.
Yeah, so am I.
Mike,
what's that, Chloe?
I said, if you guys know anyone who does video game restoration, let me know because I want to get these refaced.
Oh, cool.
Because they're old.
Gotcha.
Hey, Mike, you up for a challenge? See who better in Pac-Man?
Yeah, but they got a lot of. We can play that all types of ways. Don't they got like the home version too? I bought that for somebody recently.
They got a lot of Pac-Man ways to play Pac-Man. But what I'm saying is, I challenge you in Pac-Man. You think you still got it?
Let's do it. Yes, I'm good at Pac-Man, bro. Seriously, it's all about eye coordination. So yes.
I don't feel. What you say, Chloe?
Have you guys been to Barcade? Have you been to Barcade yet?
Yeah, I went a couple years ago, and that is pretty cool. Yeah, only went once, but it was like, huh?
In Jersey City or Newark?
No,
it's with Philly. It's one of Philly.
Yeah, I went to the one in
Oh,
Philly.
it's in Philly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
See, you're not from down here, so you wouldn't know about that. So.
Yeah, she's from North
Exactly.
Jersey, from Central Jersey.
Central Jersey. Not Jersey.
Yeah, and I don't drink, but it was still cool to go to.
I wasn't impressed by it, but that's not him.
It's nostalgic, man. I mean, you got all these old arcade games. I mean, it's pretty much just an arcade. I mean, I guess
that part, that atmosphere, I wasn't cool with though. I guess,
You know what was cool for me is because I don't drink. So if you combine it, right, bar arcade. So you think like, yo, this is gonna be cool. It's gonna be a bar and an arcade. I don't drink at all. So for me, I was just like, whoa, look at all the games. So that alone, it was for me, it was just an arcade. For other people, it was a bar arcade. You know.
Yeah.
But, so for me, it was cool. But if you again scenery, you might have been like, I don't know. So I get that.
Yeah, that's what it was for me.
And apparently we have a Suicide Squad game coming from Rockstars, which I think could be interesting. It'll probably be paired with the relaunching of the new Suicide Squad without Will Smith and possibly Idris Elba. So we'll see.
Not possibly, definitely. They dropped the like a teaser behind the scenes the other day. He's definitely in the movie.
Nice.
So is it like supposed to be the same Suicide Squad, but they just recast it with Will Smith?
No. I think he's playing a different character overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and there's not
kind of like rebranding the whole squad like differently, but keeping Harley Quinn, I guess, and like
okay. So it is the same squad, but just different characters.
Right.
I was gonna say they're not like redoing the whole movie, like
No.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
It still got that Viola Davis, her character. Who
nice.
Put it together. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And I still think James Gunn is directing, but it's not a sequel. It's not Suicide Squad 2. It's going to just be called The Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. And I think the game, so be clear, I spoke about Grand Theft Auto being the all-time top-selling best game. Well, the same company makes that game. So I think they might pull it off. It just depends. Like, I'm trying to think what games they did with superpowers and stuff like that. I feel like their forte is like a Grand Theft Auto, like you see your whole character and you run all around. And so I could see Suicide Squad's similar to that. I think it'd probably be good. My only thing is I don't feel like Suicide Squad is that popular. So they will have to
I'll tell you what they might do. Because I was watching Charlie's channel. Shouts out to Emergency Awesome. He was saying the game might be like a Suicide Squad versus the Justice League, but you're playing against Suicide Squad. So I don't know if Justice League like went bad or something happened to them, but you're playing against them trying to take down the Justice League or whatever. So I think that might add more people.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. That's smart because you would be able to suck people in based off of the characters that you're going up against because those characters are known.
Man, I play as Batman. Get out of here.
You can't.
Yeah, that would defeat the purpose if you could use Batman.
And look at this gaming setup, Tony.
Oh wow.
They got it.
That's not 3 monitors. That's just one big monitor with all the 3 logos, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is.
Yeah. But the controllers, I feel, shouldn't be the controllers are in the way of the screen. I don't know if that's just for looks.
You have Crash Bandicoot and Sonic.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but those are.
Oh, so guys, do you want to? Who has seen it? Does anyone want to try and sell me even more on Umbrella Academy?
Chloé?
It's lit. First of all, Umbrella Academy. I completely forgot how good it was, and I've been watching season 2 yesterday, and it reminded me of how awesome the storyline is, the characters, the graphics. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like the characters are complex, like all characters, but it's really interesting how the story unfolds, and it has a bit of time travel in it. It has superpowers. There's like unique characters, like in season 2. I don't don't remember if he was in season 1, but season 2, there's like a character that's a fish with a man body. He's like a boss or something. And I like how they incorporate like different characters. Like there's a talking monkey who takes care of them. I forgot his name. I have to rewatch the first season. But it's pretty good. Like I like the fantasy aspect of it, but it's also kind of realistic because like kind of like The Boys a little bit, how there's like real storylines behind each character. But it's pretty good. I definitely recommend watching. And Mary J. Blige is in the first season. Like, how could you not watch it?
I was going to ask you in the second season, Mary J. Blige.
I don't know. I only got through episode 1 and I fell asleep on episode 2 last night. So it's pretty good.
Not really a big selling point there, but The Boys is first on the agenda.
Gotta watch The Boys, bro.
Well, Mike, did you watch Umbrella Academy?
I saw the first 2 episodes of the first season, like last year or something like that, and then I didn't continue. So those did not suck me in to keep watching. But
okay, because I was going to ask you, are you going to try to sell us also? But okay, got it.
Yeah, but now I keep hearing so many things about it. It's almost like I feel like it's one of those shows where it gets better the more you watch, the more I keep hearing about it. So I might, I'll probably will watch it now. Just keep going. And I hear season 2, if you know, it's great from everybody. So I'll probably keep watching.
I think you forgot.
I got a lot to watch.
Just like I did.
I do like, isn't Ellen Page in that show? I think so. I do love Ellen Page, so I may watch it. You know, because of that situation. Inception. You know, shouts out to her. So
that's why I don't like her. That's the only part I don't like about the Umbrella Academy. That's the chick from Inception. Now I didn't like it in Inception. It makes sense. All putting together. I was looking at her last night. I was like, that chick looks familiar. Oh, that's the one from Inception. That I was like, eh.
Love Ellen Page. Also played Kitty Pryde in the X-Men movie. I love Ellen Page.
Yeah. Yep. And apparently one of the creators and exec for Umbrella Academy is also starting the Marvel production of the Moon Knight series, which is essentially the clone version of Batman in the Marvelverse.
Yeah, another character that wasn't popular.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I never even heard of him, and I'm a comic book fan. I never even heard of Moon Knight until they just announced it for the movies coming out. So
yeah,
me neither.
But
research.
But my guy Kit Harington is playing Moon Knight, so I'm all about Jon Snow. So I'm all about that. So
that's cool.
And he's going to be in the Eternals as well
as Moon Knight. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So yeah, that makes sense. Especially if he has a show around Kit Harington, I think that would be quite clever.
You know, the thing is though, it's like with comic book characters, it's a popularity contest, right? So if we go by what makes your favorite comic book character your favorite comic book character, so sometimes you're going to choose powers, right? So for me, right, if X-Men was popular, right, but my favorite X-Men is Colossus. I liked his power, right? I liked him because he could turn to steel. I was like, dude, that would be a cool power. So he was my favorite guy. Some people like Superman just because he's a super good guy. So it all depends on how the character's marketed on what make you like him. And I feel like there's a lot of characters that wasn't popular. Like when I was growing up, Captain America was not, I used to call him Corny Cap. Like he was not popular. He was not a cool character. And I feel like, but the Marvel cinematic universe made me like Captain America, right? They was able to take his, the best things about him and put it forward instead of me looking at him like, oh, he's just the goody two-shoe white guy that, you know, like, nah, like they made you feel like, man, he's like, I never even looked at him as this powerful in the past. I'm like, man, everybody beat Captain America up. But now I'm like, wow. So Moonlight, again, being Jon Snow, Kit Harington, man, we might just all be like, dude, he's an awesome character. You know, we got some people who like Batman for reasons I don't know, but they market Batman so good, even though he can't do nothing. And he's a love character, so they could pull it off.
You know what's funny? What made me like Cap growing up was the Marvel vs. Capcom game. He had crazy combos in that game. They thought he was a beast and whatnot. So that's what kind of made me like Cap.
Now, see, that's what I was trying to say about playing with Black Widow, right? Now, you know how his combos, like, the way he was, I feel like that's what make me like Black Widow is my favorite character in this Avengers game right now. Like, Hulk is cool. So picture when you use Hulk in the Marvel Capcom. Hulk feels like that. He's just big and moving and smashing. But it's different when Captain America was like, like them combos.
Yeah. I get your point. Yeah.
But that's what made you like him as a character?
Yeah, that game. I used to use him a lot, actually. You know, he would throw the shield, you know, the combos, right. and like you kind of said, you can feel his hits were powerful at that time. Hulk was more powerful, but it was kind of corny using him. He didn't have many moves and stuff like that.
Right.
So I definitely feel what you're saying about that. But yeah, that's what made me like Cap overall. Like I was into the first. Like a lot of people don't like the first Cap movie, the first Avenger. I think it's low key. I think it's slept on. I think it's pretty good actually. So
yeah, I think it did the job as introducing him well and covering everything you need to know about Captain America. So I think it did his job. You know, it wasn't my favorite movie. But can I ask a quick question, Chloe? Who's your favorite comic book character? Do you have one?
Well, growing up, it was Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But obviously, now, like knowing the characters, Black Panther.
Okay. Now, was it? No, that's fair. Was it Peter Parker and not Spider-Man? Because you specifically said Peter Parker.
Amazing Adventures of Peter Parker was my favorite comic book series.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh wow, that mediocre movie made you like Black Panther? I'm so mad about that.
First of all, I like Black Panther because he represents my culture from Wakanda.
That makes more sense.
and secondly, like I like, you know, it's culturally relevant to me, and I like to support things and people who, you know, are culturally relevant to me, especially since it's been like it's rare growing up. Like I used to like Storm, and there was another. Maybe I was reading Black Panther. One summer, I joined the comic book, and I collected all these comic books. I had like a short phase of comic books, maybe lasted for like 6 months, where I collected like 300, 400 comic books, and I used to try to find ones with Black characters in it.
You know what's funny, Chloe, is two things. I feel it sucks that Blade never gets to shine, Wesley Snipes. But you know who you would really like? That's like more. It's like a darker tone drama. People don't realize it. My second favorite character of all time is Spawn. Spawn's a Black guy. Like his story. Go ahead.
That's who it was. It was Spawn. Him and the Black. What's the woman? It wasn't Storm. It was another Black character that was a lady. I can't remember. Maybe it was. I don't remember.
Yeah, wait, it was Storm. But
is Luke Cage a superhero?
He is.
Yeah.
He was alright. I liked his series.
This is great.
Yeah, I never seen that. I got it.
Oh man,
it's really good.
It's really
like
good.
I told you, I've told you the Netflix superhero series. I just look at them as low budget, so I don't never give them a chance.
Bro, please watch Daredevil and I'm gonna tell you like I told Josh about The Boys. Please watch Daredevil and Luke Cage when you get a chance, bro. It's so good.
Yeah, Luke Cage is pretty good.
And Punisher, right?
Yeah.
I like the Joker.
Punisher.
I used to love the Batman.
I think Punisher you might like the best because you're into like, you know, high action guns, toting and stuff like that. Yeah. I think you might actually like it the best. Those three are the best at all. Not Iron Fist, that's trash, but the Punisher, Luke Cage, and Luke Cage, like kind of like what she's saying, man. It's very culturally relevant. Takes place in Harlem. They got like a nightclub, so they're like playing like Harlem music in there all the time. Jazz. They even had Jadakiss in there playing the song one day. Like it's such a good show overall. And speaking of that, I'm gonna tie this in. There's a character in the show who's in the comics named Diamondback. In the Luke Cage show, he's a villain. Well, I'm hearing that Marvel is in talks for movies to have Denzel Washington play the Diamondback character, which I think would be amazing. So that's a.
Because I'm not gonna lie, he was kind of corny in Luke Cage.
Yeah, he was corny. Yeah, that guy was corny in Luke Cage. But I think Denzel will put a much better spin on that character.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the what's it called? What's his series where he's going around shooting everybody?
Who? What series?
Denzel.
The Equalizer.
Yeah, it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be
Yeah.
I hated the Equalizer.
What?
Equalizer was good though. You know what's
Both
funny?
of them.
It was
What's
stupid.
funny was you said you didn't like them.
I did not like the Equalizer. I thought it was trash.
Oh wow. Yeah, what's funny is my wife wanted to see it, and I had no care at all to see the Equalizer. She's like, "Yo, I really want to see it." I'm like, "All right, fine." And I went to the movies, like, "Wow, that was pretty dope."
Yeah, love Equalizer. Well, I can't believe you didn't like it.
Yeah, I
Chloe,
don't
that's
know.
crazy.
I don't know what you didn't like about it.
It was the point behind it. Like, how did he pick that random lady to save? Like, you just want to save some random lady
Because that was who he was, you know.
That's funny.
That part was the smartest the scene in Inception with the snow whatever.
Okay.
Like it.
All
It threw
right.
me off.
Well, Chloe, I'll say this, Chloe. So here's one thing that's really cool. I want to just tie this in real quick about the Avengers game, because every so often they're going to keep adding characters and adding their whole stories. So when they add Black Panther, you might just be buying that game, huh?
I mean, I think Chloe liked the game in general, to be honest.
I think she would too, yeah. It's easy to play too.
See, that's the thing I need to know. Like, the buttons are kind of tricky for me.
No, trust me. This game, the buttons isn't that bad. Like my wife, she only likes to play third-person games where you can see a whole character, because the first-person view where you only see your hand holding the gun, it messes her up, right? This game, the controls are simple. Like I'm telling you, I feel like they were smart. They took, I'm telling you, they did research. They had to do research on Destiny for its MMO feeling where you could get loot. They had to do research on Anthem, the way it flies. They had to do research on Batman. I'm not gonna lie to you. They ripped Batman off. Like they made sure every element that you could think of, they took from like the best of that element. Like it's a complete game. Like I've been trying to watch people and what they got to say about it. After playing it for the beta for so long, but it's good, man.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And speaking of news, so the Candyman director Nia DaCosta is now slated to direct Captain Marvel 2, which I think is great. Got another black director in the Marvelverse, which I think will be pretty dope.
I think that's dope too, even though we haven't seen Candyman, so I can't really speak to the work of it, you know. I don't even know what's going on with that. Is it still coming out or VOD or what? But I think it's dope to have another black director inside the Marvelverse besides Ryan Coogler. Hopefully, you know, Captain Marvel made a lot of money, but we talked about this on Mental Theater before. It wasn't overall the greatest movie. I thought there was a lot more to be desired there. But I am hearing that Brie Larson was like taking over Marvel. Like apparently she's got like the biggest contract now. And you know, when they do make Avengers films, she's supposed to be more prominent. So I guess we'll see where the character goes.
That was the least subtle eye roll I've ever seen in my life, Miguel.
I'm just saying, man. I don't know how this stuff happens.
I think we both know how it happens, and it's going to continue to happen.
I don't have a problem with
Okay.
Like I feel like women have been underappreciated for a long time. So I don't, this whole, you know, women's agenda with women characters. Listen, I'm cool with it. If you got a good character, right, and a good story, and his powers are cool. Listen, like people are like, Thor's gonna be a woman. What? I mean, it did happen in the comic book, so I could roll with a female Thor. Cool.
Yeah, and Shuri's going to eventually take over as Black Panther. It's all just happening little by little.
I'm cool with that too. Listen, if you do it right, here's the thing. If we just have a problem with feeling like it's a woman's agenda, then I get it. But if you're like, you know what? If you could pull it off, then that's why I'm cool with it. If you switch Thor for what's her name? Her real name?
Jane?
Yeah, if you switch Thor for Jane, right? And it'd be bad. Like, first of all, I can't even picture her fighting. But if you could pull it off, then I'm cool with it. I'm not gonna judge it, be like, oh man, they're trying to make, you know, too many women getting these prominent spots. Because yeah, superheroes are always been more like the masculine character. But if you can do it right, then I'm cool. But so we will have to wait and see.
Look at Poison Ivy. She was bad. Catwoman. That's who it was I was thinking of. Like, come on now. Are you scared that a woman's going to do it better, Mike? That's the problem?
As far as
not at all.
Yeah, not at all.
I agree with Tony. Like, if it's corny, like Jessica Jones was whack.
Yes.
But if it's not corny and not cheesy, and there's like this 80-pound chick flipping dudes over, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's like Catwoman, I love her. She was amazing, especially Halle Berry.
The only bad thing is that's
wait, hold on, Tony. Did you say especially Halle Berry's Catwoman?
Miguel,
I remember from that movie, like, she was lit. She was dope.
Miguel, just no.
I know.
Listen, I'll say this. The world considered that like the worst comic book movie, but I don't think it was that bad. You know, I don't think it was as bad as the world make it sound. So to Chloe's point, if you went into it, you know, you got what you got at the time. Halle Berry was such a star, you know, and she's not an action star, right? You know, she's not like how she was in John Wick 3, which I still got to see. But she wasn't trained like that, so she did her job as the pretty face, and you know, and as best as she could. And I feel like it was good enough for me because I'm not a Catwoman fan, so for me. But yeah, the world kind of hates that movie. But you know, guys, listen, I feel like it's okay if, you know, if it's a woman agenda, right? It's okay if now they want to, you know, make women have big roles. Because mind you, I got 3 daughters, right? So I don't mind my daughter looking and saying like, man, when I was growing up, like the women was running comic book movies, you know? If that happens, I don't care. If you do it right, that's all I'm saying, you know?
Well, again, I don't think anyone has an issue with female superheroes because there's plenty of precedent for that. It's the fact that it's a female superhero at the expense of the established superheroes already.
Yeah, but I don't. So this is why I don't really see that. I don't really see that.
Well, Miguel literally said it. If Shuri is going to be the Black Panther, that means T'Challa is not.
There can be multiple Black Panthers.
What?
It's fantasy, right? Isn't it fantasy? Aren't there alternate universes and stuff? Like we saw with Spider-Man, there was like a female Spider-Man, a pig Spider-Man. It's not gonna kill Spider-Man. Like everyone knows that there's a Spider-Man, and then they know that there's a girl Spider-Man. So it's like it's alternate universes, parallel universes. Like, come on, guys.
Hold on, here's my problem, right?
Like, oh, here's the girl version of Batman. Batman's no longer relevant. Like,
Batgirl is trash. Batwoman, whoever you want to call it, trash.
Here's my problem, Mike. You didn't even care too much for Black Panther anyway, so why would you be even mad if they make Black Panther now a girl?
Listen, we're talking about 4 or 5 different things right now. All right, so let me just overall. All right, so first of all, we started out with Brie Larson, right? So Brie Larson's the only Black, Captain Marvel that there is. I'm just upset, not really upset, but that, you know, if they made a new Avengers movie, they would put her as the forefront, and that she's kind of like, you know, there's other characters still around. There's Spider-Man, there's Thor who's still around. There's even Black Panther. You know what I mean? So I just feel like part of that is a part of the agenda, and I feel like things should be, you know, earned naturally, not because you're trying to, you know, fulfill an agenda or whatever.
So here's my issue, right? I hear what you're saying because you're all in this behind the scenes. Josh, put your hands down. So here's the thing, right? Look at the character. So this is what's wrong with you guys, right? You guys are into the behind the scenes so much you can't enjoy a movie. I'm going off of powers, characters, right? Captain Marvel, her name is Captain, meaning she's not no lower person. She's probably the most powerful one of them. Why would she not? Like, it's silly to have her in a movie and she not be part of it. That makes no sense. Like, she's so powerful, but she's so irrelevant. Like, that doesn't even make sense. So if you're writing, right, forget the whole it's an agenda, blah, blah. If you're writing a book, people will be like, yo, where the, like in the movie, like a perfect example, right? You got the world being destroyed by Thanos. Like, where, okay, if Captain Marvel's so powerful, Where's she at? So now she's available, she's around. It doesn't make sense for her not to be at the forefront. Again, if her character was like, if she wasn't Captain Marvel, meaning like she's like noble, she's one of, you know, she's a hero, she's a savior of the day, like a Superman, right? Like Superman's personality is he's going to be at the forefront, right? So why would Captain Marvel not be because of her personality and her character? Now, if she was like the Punisher, who's kind of like Marvel's version of Batman, he's in the shadows, he kills people, like he's not going to be the team leader, but Captain Marvel would, and she happens to be a female. Oh well, it just makes sense. Like, you guys are killing me because you're behind the scenes. It just makes sense in comic books. Like,
but it wasn't that way in the comic books though. So how did it make sense in comic books?
Well, Captain Marvel, listen, Captain Marvel is super powerful. Like, again, she wasn't so here's what you guys got to get. There's people who are surface level, right? So comic books to us, right, is who's you hear more, right? Oh, that person's popular, whatever, so they're popular, right? But how many of us really read all the comic books that goes along with each other to know how much of a big deal Captain Marvel was? So we're just taking off our face value and our memory of Captain Marvel, who's that bum, right? Same thing with me. But I have friends who are like crazy in the comic books, and they have to break down to me of how big of a deal Captain Marvel is. To me, I don't care because I didn't pay attention to her, but they explain to me like, bro, you can't do that to Captain Marvel. She's a big deal. I don't know, whatever. So to the diehard comic book fans, they're not going to be like, man, she's a girl taking over the spotlight. They can be like, yo, she's Captain Marvel. And you guys are missing that because you're worrying about a female agenda taking away your masculinity.
Yeah, that's yeah. You're mixing apples and oranges. In fact, you're mixing DC universe with the Marvel verse. You're not even on the same creative space.
How am I not? I only talked about Marvel characters. I didn't bring up a DC character in that situation.
Well, you said Punisher was like Batman of Marvel, but
and Marvel.
Yeah, so I'm talking about Marvel.
His biggest role is he doesn't kill people, so I don't even know how you get that analogy. But
dude, in the comic books, Batman is so feared because he will like break your legs and almost kill you.
Yeah, but not kill you.
I mean,
but again, I don't know, man. I feel like Captain was never. I mean, she was powerful. Yes, that we know that she was powerful. She is powerful, but she never was like in the forefront of the con.
Yeah, because it's a popularity contest. At the end of the day, like the people. Listen, you got to make money.
Popular now, right? You alluded to it. It's because it is an agenda.
I'm back.
Yeah, well, it's a popularity contest. So if you get a character that's really popular, right? So here's the cool thing with comic books. Each comic, when you read comic books, they have directors and writers that's supporting these characters fully, right? It just takes the people that decide, I like this character more, and then the buzz is, we like these characters more, right? So, like, that's just the way it goes. Captain Marvel have her own fan base in comic books. She's popular in comic books. She's just not as popular. So in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're going to take characters and try to make them more popular. But it's the people that decides to get behind them, like Black Panther, right? People got behind Black Panther for whatever reasons. So same thing with Captain Marvel. If you like, man, she's super powerful and she's a woman, yay. Well, how many people want to get behind her? If they really not going to like her that much, then the movie's not going to do that well. Like, listen, Chloe loves Catwoman, but it didn't do well at all. But either way, and then they got rid of it, right? Okay, listen, you had a chance, didn't do well, whatever. So don't get mad if they make Captain Marvel the forefront and then it does well, right?
Well, again,
if it does well, that's great. That's right. Great. But it's like that scene in Endgame where they that's the worst scene in the whole Endgame. Where they had to put all the women together for this one scene on the battleground. They magically come together as all women.
Let me ask you a question, bro. Yeah. What is your problem with the women coming together?
Again, Tony, you're being quite presumptuous with the issue that we're having, which actually has to do more with the actual content, not the fact that it's women. Because Mike, how much did you enjoy Wonder Woman? How amazing was that film?
I love that film. Can't wait to see Wonder Woman 1984. Can't wait to see Black Widow.
Use that as a scapegoat out of this. Don't backpedal. The issue is you guys don't want the women having a prominent role. That's terrible.
A backpedaler.
Bro, that's not true because I've been talking about Black Widow for many months. I love Wonder Woman, so that's not true.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's her own movie. But if you don't want Black Widow to be the main, you don't want Black Widow to be in front of the men, is what you're saying. Yes, Wonder Woman had her own movie, so she was gonna be the top star.
Tony, you're doing your thing where you're putting words in other people's mouth that they didn't say.
All right, well, listen, if anybody's watching this, you just listen for yourself and see if that's what it sounds like.
Right, and what
does it sound like to you?
And most of the talking has been by you, not by us.
No, so I'm only talking because I'm reiterating what Chloe was saying and having this conversation, but that's pretty much where it's going. It's like,
no, that's what the term presumptuous means.
I don't like things that feel forced and like it's not naturally or organic. That scene in Endgame, again, that felt so forced just to complete an agenda and whatnot. And I don't like stuff like that. I'll just leave it at that.
Let me ask you a question. What agenda? Can you just specify?
You already alluded to it.
No. I don't want to put words in people's mouth, like you said. So can I hear Mike or you, one of you, just say what agenda you're talking about? When it was a scene of a bunch of women feeling forced. What agenda?
We already talked about the agenda, which is an actual agenda.
Well, like I said, I'll leave it at that. That was my last words. I'll leave it at that.
Well, let me say something, okay? What it sounds like, what I'm hearing you say is that you don't feel like you would like something that's inorganic to the storyline, correct?
Correct.
And that includes male characters as well.
Okay, and male characters as well. However, specifically today, you said the female agenda, which was, an underlining fact behind the storyline. And which came up in this conversation. And what I'd like to allude to is that these movies are full of cheesy scenes, period.
Right.
So the fact that you are bringing up the female agenda specifically tells me that there is some underlining motive of saying, oh, well, I don't like this female agenda. But in reality, you actually just don't like cheesy parts of movies, which I agree with. But I'm just confused why the female agenda had to be brought up into this debate about cheesy moments. That's my question.
Well, again, as I said, it has to do with the female characters that is forced at the expense of other characters. I didn't say it had a problem if the other character is still there. If it's T'Challa and Shuri fighting together, that I can get on board with. But if it's at T'Challa's expense, you grow up accustomed with these characters. You come attached to these characters. So I would prefer to see Iron Man and Pepper fight together with Morgan, right? As opposed to, Tony Stark dying and then all you get is Morgan.
See, and that's because of your, I guess, attachment to that character, right? And that's from your perspective of having that attachment. However, movies, as we know, are made to generate money, right? And generate new interest of new characters, because eventually it's going to turn into, the female role being powerful, which we're seeing as we're moving into the feminine energy. And that's why you're going to have these scenes. And I don't want to call it female agenda because that has a negative connotation behind it. But I will say that we are putting females at the forefront in these movies, rightfully so, because we have been underrepresented in media, period. Just like the Black agenda. Like when I hear you guys say the female agenda, I'm also in my head like, oh, this sounds similar to the Black agenda. Like someone might say, oh, well, why even put a Black Spider-Man? So it's like, it's not what you're saying. It's kind of like the connotation behind the word choices that you guys are using. And I do agree. It was cheesy when they had all the females come in and fight together. But I wouldn't say that's the female agenda. I would just say, oh, they're trying out to see how the audience is reacting to this, and they're building a new fan base.
To me, it kind of is similar to, and Miguel brought up before, with the whole, and again, everyone knows how I feel about Michael B. Jordan, but for him to play Superman, just to have a Black Superman, nah. To me, I'm not with that agenda either. I'm not with either agendas, because an agenda is something that you force down people's throat. So I'm not with the agendas. I want something to be good because it's good, not because it's going to make money.
Yeah, but this is different though. You have an issue with
Is it forcing? I think that it seems like it's forcing because you grew up with a specific image of what Spider-Man or Batman or whoever's supposed to look, but it's not forcing if it's just exposing a new crowd of people to a new concept. It just feels like it's forcing because you're used to the status quo. And change is scary, right? Change is uncomfortable. But if you're a person who's not experiencing the change or the uncomfortability, it's going to be like, oh, this is pretty dope that Michael B. Jordan is like Superman. This is cool. It's not going to be like, oh, they're pushing the black agenda because he doesn't look like this. It's against the status quo. So, like, of course, I get your perspective because, you know, we grew up with certain things. But for the new people, I don't think that we should, like, say, oh, it's agenda. Because it is an agenda to push a new character onto a new, upcoming, diverse group of people.
Go ahead, Tony. You were saying something.
No, I was just saying that I feel like for me, that's why I don't get into the politics of who's the director and this and that. I'm more into what I'm watching, right? And so for me, I love characters with superpowers, right? We could go on and on how I think I don't like Batman that much because he don't have superpowers. But what I'm saying is Captain Marvel, even though she's a woman, right? She could be a dude, but she's a girl, but her powers supersede so many people, and she's Captain Marvel. She's not like just she got all this power and she's not like her role like Captain America, right? He's like the super goody two shoe guy, so he's gonna make the good judgment calls, you know. He's like the leader, right? And so Tony Stark step in because he's super brilliant, right? Well, not only does Captain Marvel have all this superpower, but she's her title, Captain Marvel. So I feel like it's okay if she does step up more, because I feel like she either need to step up more or just not be in it, because it's weird to have a character with all this superpower. She's so powerful but barely doing anything. That makes no sense. So write it better. And if she happened to step up because she can, I mean, I don't. The politics is that's why I don't like to get involved with that. I just want to see a good movie. But I get it, you guys. Maybe this director didn't get the right to do this film, so it's not going to be as good. Maybe it's the female agenda that, you know, they're taking all these prominent guys. But at the end of the day, listen, I got daughters, I got a mom. Like, it's okay. Or masculinity. Let's, you know, it's all right.
Well, see, I think Josh is on point. I think you're mixing it up. Hold on. It's okay to allow a woman. Again, we like Black Widow. We like Wonder Woman. I liked Captain Marvel, even though it wasn't that great, but I still went to see the movie. I went to just see the Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn movie. You know, before any of us saw it and stuff like that.
Can I just say something? Your point that you're making is invalid. Everything you alluded to is these characters that have like their own movies. What we're saying is, if that character got to be in the same movie with the men and became the main character, you're not saying that at all.
I like Suicide Squad.
Go ahead.
She was pretty much the main character, Harley Quinn. I like Suicide Squad and whatnot. Was she not? She was definitely the most seen person in that movie, the Harley Quinn character. And Suicide Squad.
Did you look at her like she was the leader
of the team?
Yes.
That team is. I wouldn't even think about who was the leader, to be honest with you.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. So what we're saying is
the leader was Viola Davis.
Leader of the Avengers.
It was Viola Davis.
Right, that's what I was saying. Yeah, and I like that movie too. I just think that, you know, when I first hear Jane's now playing Thor, and I see Taika Waititi on stage handing her the hammer, I wasn't like, woo, I can't wait to see that. Like, I'm like, yo, I like Thor. I want to see him be Thor and stuff like that. So it definitely takes my excitement down a notch, you know, when I hear something like that and whatnot. And Chloé, to her point, I agree. A lot of it's because of what you grew up on, what you're used to seeing, and the change, you know, of it all. If it was I don't know, a white guy now playing Thor, they said some new white dude we never heard of or whatever, I still would probably feel similarly. But when you add all these things up together, that's when you come up with the word, negative or not, agenda, because it's all happening around the same time, and that's how I look at it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Was there a female Thor in the comic books?
There's a new Jane comic book that came out 2015, less than five years ago. That now this is a story Taika's pulling from, which means I was 30 years old when this came out, which means it's not what I grew up on.
But did that happen in the comic books?
Yes, correct.
There you go.
It happened after Thor was already playing Thor in the movies. To be honest with you, like that. So you can always make new comic books. Like you can make one tomorrow and say Shuri's Black Panther, but that don't mean it's like we grew up on stuff like that.
And again, if you're fighting side by side, I wouldn't have a problem with Thor and Jane fighting side by side. But again, Thor gives the throne to Valkyrie. Like, what the fuck is you doing?
That's again, it's like it sounds like you have a problem with the woman, having the balls.
Bro, I don't think so.
You do it well. Again. I'm on board. Now
I've seen many movies with females as leaders and in charge or queens or whatever you want. I have no problem with
Game of Thrones. Come on, come on.
Yeah. I have no problem with that.
First of all, we can't even bring up Game of Thrones because all the female characters are pretty much fit.
They what?
We know who became the King of Thrones.
Yeah, but who became the Queen of the North? Sansa did and whatnot. So.
Of the North. She didn't even do anything the whole series. Like
she does have a point.
Wait, was Cersei queen?
Cersei was definitely queen.
So wait,
she died.
Was it the Mother of Dragons queen as well?
Spoiler alert. Who ended up in the end with the throne?
And who's probably one of the most popular characters on that show amongst men? Arya. Men love Arya. I'm sorry to say.
Daenerys, and she died. Everyone
Daenerys
died.
too.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like, we can't be used as a good example.
It is a good example.
The Game of Thrones isn't a good example because it's just pretty much it's thrown around. Like this person get the main person and this person the main person, which made the show really good. But that's not a good comparison to what the topic is.
I'm gonna say this to you, Tony. Depends again. Everything always depends on how it's done, how it looks. So I may see Captain Marvel as the leader of the Avengers and say, "Yo, this came out pretty dope." And whatnot. But to your other point, I am a behind the scenes person. I read movie news. I'm into stuff like that. So when I first hear about it, it doesn't excite me. Like I said, but we'll see how it's done.
You was like the effing Me Too movement again. Now they're trying to get rid of Hollywood superheroes. I
mean, bro, that movement caused a lot of people, a lot of their careers for some of them were correct, some of them weren't correct, man. So it's an interesting movie. What happened to Aziz, I still feel bad about it. That's my guy. So, this is a whole different thing. So
there is an underlying. Wait. So what I'm hearing you say is there is an underlining issue.
Yeah.
I literally said that I feel like because it happened so I literally said I said because it's happening at the same time so much in these particular movies. For example, it does feel like that Me Too movement sprung to an agenda, so to speak, and whatnot. And it is what it is at that point. So
there's a personal connection to this movement.
I literally feel like that.
And you're in excitement for there to be a female character playing.
I literally feel like that's. I literally feel like that scene in Endgame was shot like post production, the way it comes off and whatnot. So,
but what's the problem with that scene though? That's my question.
It was cheesy.
Now, comic books is cheesy. It's a comic book,
exactly.
Yeah, it's nothing but especially because comic book movies are like they start adding a level of comedy, right? So like comic book movies are nothing but a 2.5-hour whatever movie of cheesy scenes, right? It's like you have it's like the level of having like that serious tone movie, like you don't get that in comic book movies anymore. It's not going to be a 100% serious. It's always going to be some silly scene, like when we was in what's the thing they always saying they went to Budapest? Oh, you remember like we could have did without that scene, but it's funny, haha, whatever. It's cheesy. Chloe got a great point, man.
I'll move forward. Go ahead, Josh.
Right, and moving forward to John Wick, since Tony Stark brought it up. 4 and 5 will apparently be shot back to back, which would be interesting. Oh, wow. And I
John
love the
Wick
first.
is lit.
Which one was the best one for you guys?
Parabellum, number 3.
Okay.
With Halle Berry as a lead. Look at that.
I John Wick was the lead, but
on this, I will say there's a thing I think like I'm worried about too many sequels when it comes to stuff like this. I think 3 was pretty dope, and I can see that 4, but to already be developing 5, I just feel like you can sometimes stretch the story too much. If it's done well, once again, it could be good. But I hope they don't stretch it too far. Just like a money grab. That's my issue. Kind of like for me, Tony, underworldish a little bit, where it kind of goes for too many movies, I guess.
So this is what I say, Mike. I think it's different though. I think Underworld started off really good, but the Underworld being that it's werewolves, vampires, feel like you have to really do a great job in order to stretch that. I just look at John Wick as stretching something like Fast and Furious.
Thank you. That was I about to say.
That. So John Wick, I think, can keep going because nowhere am I saying, man, they need to stop Fast and Furious every year.
What?
Like, make another one.
You know what? That's a great point. A lot. There's people who have given up the fact that the Fast and Furious story is no longer like connected and it's all over the place, and they just say make another one. You're right. I agree with that. So.
And people love John Wick, man. Like it's like wow, like
John Wick is dope. Yeah, overall, 100%. So
they put him in Fortnite.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to make some spinoffs too, like based off like the based off. I think the hotel is supposed to get a spinoff about the hotel itself. And then like, whatever. I forget the name of the hotel, but about the hotel itself and all the killers who come in and out and stuff like that. So
that could be a TV series on HBO or something like that.
I think it is supposed to be a TV series, to be honest with you. So
that's what I'm talking about. All right.
Yeah.
So, that would be great.
And then like a background on the ballerinas, whatever they do, whatever, like that lady and all her people and what they do, something like that. I heard too. So.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
You know what'd be cool is I'm not sure how deep you guys are in this, but it reminds me of I'm a big fan of it, but The Purge. So The Purge had that one movie, then they had another movie, and then they had another movie, and then they had a series, and then they're coming out with another movie, and the series had 2 seasons already, and it's pretty cool. What they did was they was able to make the series followed. So they made one movie called The First Purge, right? So they did a prequel.
Oh, that was bad. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I liked it. So they showed how it first started, and then they went to the series and actually continued of like you watching a series in the world of the Purge, and then the second season went as what if people was breaking the rules and killing people and not on Purge night. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that movie was just a little black exploitation a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. I just didn't like that first Purge. No, so. But yeah, I agree. They can keep, in this day and age, people like they don't need connective tissue, as much. They'll just keep watching movies and stuff like that. And like Fast and Furious is bringing Han back, right? Han died 4 movies ago, but now they're bringing him back, and everybody's excited about it. So it's just like they just want to go see it. So.
And let's be clear, Keanu Reeves is at an all-time high right now. His stock is, like Chloé said, being in Fortnite. Man, like my nephew, when he was like, I'm like, you do realize you're not doing nothing different. It's just a character. What? Like, all right, calm down.
So are you going to buy Bill and Ted on VOD when it comes out in September 4th?
Yeah, not me, but okay. I don't buy movies, first of all. I stopped buying movies a long time ago. I only own a couple movies because my wife bought me that Godzilla and she bought me Ninja Turtles for my birthday.
I mean, will you rent it? I'm saying on VOD. When it comes out next month.
I might rent it. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, right? For me, like I got to see the new Bill and Ted.
Okay.
Yeah, I never saw the first. Certainly not seeing the second. So
it's the third.
You didn't see the first.
Or first, second, third. I never even heard of it until just now. So I'm not really.
What?
Never hearing of it is a little strange, but I could get you. And again, it depends on what you. So I look at my life, right? So obviously we know I was married 3 times. I got kids, right? So when stuff happens, I have to ask myself, what was I doing in my life at that time, right? Like me and Mike go back and forth about wrestling, but I missed a lot of good stuff in wrestling, right? So because it depends on what was going on in my life. So it all depends on what Josh was, whether he, whatever Josh was doing. I mean, because Bill and Ted is kind of old, so it depends on how old he was.
1989, I was in diapers.
Right. So like, what was your parent like? Is your parents allowing you to watch that? So it all depends. We can't always be like, you ain't never see that. It just depends on why didn't you see it, you know?
Yeah.
It was like one of those movies like Wayne's World. Did you watch Wayne's World?
I did.
Yes.
So it was like that. Like I used to get them mixed up.
Yeah,
like
I can see that.
Right, and I get that, but that's not really my demographic. I think Wayne's World was enough of that genre of content for Josh in his life.
Wayne's World, excellent.
I agree, Josh. It's definitely not your demographic right now. It's not you. So,
I don't think Josh has a demographic.
It had time travel, right? Didn't they time travel?
It does. It does have time travel.
Yeah,
it's at the phone booth. Yeah.
I feel like that's why they made Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah, it's kind of similar, to be honest with you. So
yeah, another movie I
non-Josh demographic
on purpose. Thank you, Miguel. There we go. Right. And our last bit of news here is that Patty Jenkins, the director of the fabulous Wonder Woman film, is apparently leaving after the third, which for Miguel and I think for people who like behind the scenes things, I have a feeling that might have to do with the direction that they're going in, and perhaps Patty and her creative brilliance doesn't actually want to stick around for any more, personally.
I think for her, and as you know, Josh, with some directors, they see their story as a trilogy, similar to Christopher Nolan with the Batman, the Dark Knight series. So anything after that, they feel like they would just be doing it for like, money or whatever, but they want to complete their story. They can't, of course, stop the studio from making more movies, but they can always say my story was complete. Zack Snyder, his Superman trilogy, which is why the Snyder Cut is coming out, the Justice League was supposed to be the completion of his trilogy for Superman. So that's part of the reason why that's coming out. And as Zack Snyder says, he's not using anything that he didn't shoot when it comes out. So I think that it's the same thing for her now. I do hear that they're supposed to explore more of La Mascara in like the fourth movie, where she's from and all that good stuff, which I think will be dope, because I think that was probably the best parts of the Wonder Woman movie. And I will be sad to see Patty leave because she did such a great job. But I do understand it creatively why she will leave after 3 movies.
Right. I just thought as an asset, Warner's would want to wrap her up the same way they did with Nolan, so she could be in line to do a Justice League type movie in the future. That's just my thinking with that. The same way that Snyder did as well. Right.
Yeah, I can see that, wrap her up for other movies, but I think she would never do this again because, like I said, it's kind of like because they couldn't pay Nolan to do another Batman movie because he's like, no, I'm done. That's my thing. So I think that's how she feels about it.
Yeah, and I think Nolan's going to be too busy revitalizing James Bond. Can't wait for that.
We'll see. Tony, what's on this?
Yeah, you know me, I'm not the behind the scenes. I didn't when Josh was like, because of what's going on, I don't even know what he's alluding to, if you want to throw context on it. But yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman, the first one was good. I think we're getting way out there because we didn't see part 2 yet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't always look at it as, oh, that movie was great. I'm a particular guy, right? Like, I like movies that people don't like often. Like he said he hated The Purge. The first Purge, I'm in the whole Purge series, so it was okay. It was good for me. I love that context they added that I didn't know, and I visually got to see, right? So I don't know, like, let's say one director leave and the next one come on. I don't follow it that deep because I feel like I might prejudge the movie based off of me liking someone else's work. So I don't know. I mean, I have to actually experience and see the movie and be like, that was good. And if it's bad, I'm like, man, I wonder why it's bad. And then when you guys be like, yo, you know why it's bad? The director left. I'm like, oh man, that really shows. But some you might be like, oh man, the director left. And I'm like, what? This was the best one. So I guess I can't toss my hat in this conversation because I'm
Yeah, I think that anytime movies have sequels or trilogies or the next movie, I think unfairly they're based off of its predecessor, whether it's the movie itself or the director or the actors sometimes or whatever. And it's like going back in the Black culture, like people who don't like let's say Next Friday, they don't like it because they like Chris Tucker in Friday. So they were mad at first when Mike Epps was in Next Friday, you know what I'm saying? Even though if you watch Next Friday, it's funny by itself. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's always judged by its predecessors, but I'm not even looking at judging it, this one. I just think that she wants to do her trilogy that she's planned out. and then they'll move on. So I think, either way it'll be fine. I think she will be missed, like I said, and it's a thing about Tony, the kind of rapport like you see right here with Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman, and sometimes those new actors don't get that with the new directors, and that sometimes affects it as well. But that's just a whole other thing. So.
Yeah, I think here's what I will say about that is I always wonder about that, right? So I feel like if you're an actor and your job is to act, then it's weird to me when I hear the behind the scenes they was beefing with whoever, so now the movie wasn't good. I'm like, if your job was to act out that character, I don't get why your personal issues, why you would, you're human, but why you would allow, right, your personal issues to be shown on screen. So sometimes I feel like I couldn't feel when I watched the character like they had beef with somebody behind the scene, right? But when I think of the movie wasn't good, I don't think of, oh, I wonder was things not working out. I think of the movie wasn't good because maybe it wasn't directed properly. The movie wasn't good because, the scenes was bad. I feel like it's weird when we throw in like, oh, that movie was bad because behind the scenes nobody liked each other. It's like, really? That made the movie bad? Like that doesn't even make sense to me, Because
I would suggest you watch Entourage again, and you'll see some things about that. But that's another story. Overall, and you too, Chloe. You should watch Entourage too, Chloe, if you haven't seen it. Also, another one.
I haven't seen Entourage.
Yeah, it's another one.
Yeah.
Did you? I guess you don't. Did you? Do you like Wonder Woman, Chloe? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like, ooh, Wonder Woman. It's just like
wait. You like Halle Berry's Catwoman more do you like Wonder Woman?
I don't remember the whole movie about Catwoman. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I was like, wow, Halle Berry looks dope, and I want to be like, when you're a kid, you pretend to be certain characters, and I was like, ooh, I want to be Catwoman, or like, ooh, I want to be Storm, because I never was like, oh my gosh, I want to be Wonder Woman. I mean, I wanted to be the Pink Ranger, but not Wonder Woman. Like, I don't know. She's cool. Right? Kind of like, to me, she's kind of like Captain America, where it's just like this all-American, let me wear the flag. I don't know. I just wasn't really into her, but she's pretty. She's cool, I guess. I'm going to go see it.
Gotcha. Josh, you have any thoughts on Patty Jenkins? You didn't say anything yet.
No, I started the conversation.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then one last bit. I'm curious to see how this actually does after Comic-Con bombed. After Comic-Con at home bombed, DC is doing essentially their own version of DC fandom, right? And they're gonna have I guess a whole panel of people. I actually saw another poster that had Margot Robbie as part of it as well. Not this one, but I'll be curious to see if it does well at all. I know they're gonna be dropping some Justice League trailers and whatnot, so we'll see. And apparently the Mandalorian season 2 trailer is supposed to upstage this event, so I'm excited about that as well.
They're gonna have a Comic-Con at home.
We already had a Comic-Con at home. This is a fandom at home. Yeah.
Oh, I totally missed out on it. I didn't.
No, you know what? We talked about the Comic-Con at home last week when you were not on yet. Actually, earlier.
Right.
Yeah. So they had a Comic-Con at home last few weeks ago because the pandemic and stuff like that, and apparently it like bombed or something like that. Like didn't get as many people talking about it or watching it as like the normal Comic-Con would.
Yeah, I didn't even hear of it. Wow.
Right. You're a fan, and we talked about how why that was, and I guess because of just like this, we could take it all the way forward. I think again that in-person experience can't be duplicated with something like Comic-Con or DC Fandom or X23 or even the what's the EA one, I guess, or the ones for the games, stuff like
E3.
that. Yeah, E3, yeah. I mean, I don't. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much those events hype you up, right? So you hear people talking about it. Like, remember the girl Jasmine used to work at our job, or she still works at the job you work at, but she will go to them and take pictures. And like that just Comic-Con is an event that you hear of, you see these pictures, you feel the vibe, the energy, you see big crowds walking around. That's part of it. Like when I think of it, so being something that they show on TV is a little strange. But E3, I mean, I never been to an E3, but when I watch E3, I'm still watching thousands of people sitting in the audience when they show a video game trailer, and everybody's like, oh, you know. So I guess, yeah, it's an experience that you're watching other people experiences, but you're getting your experience through those other people. So yeah, I guess it is. I don't mean I didn't see it, so, but I feel like, yeah, it would be strange. But the world we're in now, everything's strange, and certain new things are becoming normal, and so it's such an uncharted time right now. But
yeah, the Comic-Con and stuff like this, the shame of it all. Hey, go ahead, Chloé.
How did they stream this? Like, what platform was Comic-Con on?
Josh, was it on Zoom or something like that?
I thought it would be on YouTube, something like that.
Well, no, you still had
so
to,
my thoughts are,
I think you still had to pay for it, though, right? I think it still was like you had to get exclusive tickets some kind of way.
So we don't really know.
Yeah. But go ahead, Chloé.
My thoughts are, how many people showed up to this thing, the Comic-Con?
I'm not exactly sure, but it wasn't really. I mean, they went by the social media impressions, so it really had anything less than or anything more than like 100,000 people talking about it, as opposed to millions.
So my thoughts are, if they would just change the marketing to something like the Versus, because Versus gets a lot of people in there, right? So it's possible for them to acquire a large audience online, virtually, but it's such a huge fan base. But I think that their approach was wrong. I didn't hear the marketing sucked because I heard nothing about even word of mouth. And you know, Comic-Con's one of those hear about word of mouth. And then I think streaming wise, they need to do something like free where they're getting, you know, the Versus model. Because if they were to do something on Instagram Live or something like that, but
no, apparently it was free, but it wasn't on Instagram. Yeah, so that's maybe the issue.
So that's the problem. Like, if they do this fandom thing on Instagram Live and have it basically run exactly how it ran or runs, where it's like word of mouth. They have like all the celebrities, like maybe they have some type of entertainment facet where they're like acting in real life or something. I think they can garnish enough people because Versus does. And I'm pretty sure there's more fans in the DC world than, you know, Snoop Dogg and what's his name, Nelly.
Yeah. From what I'm reading, it looks like the biggest issue with it was that a lot of the people who are in these movies didn't come to the panels to watch it. So maybe they can, in the future, if it's going to be that way at home, make it contractually so it's in their contract they have to do it. Because a lot of them refuse to do it at home, I guess. So a lot of people didn't kind of watch it. So I think that might have been part of the issue from what I'm reading. So.
Right, and here's a promo clip for it. So they are bringing out the big guns as well.
You know what's funny about that? Not to be funny, but I feel like the DC universe is so like not performing great. I feel like who are all those people? Because who do they care about but so much for the DC universe? So I'm like, what?
I mean, that's true. I guess they did have The Rock. The Rock was part of that panel. You have Margot Robbie. You have Zack Snyder. So I'm sure he'll be talking about the Snyder Cut, things like that. So in terms of, I guess, specific projects, I think that'll garner the most attention.
I guess. Yeah, The Rock ain't doing nothing yet. So, I mean, you know.
I don't think The Mandalorian will take away from it, though. I mean, that was going to drop anyway. It comes out in 2 months. So I don't think the trailer for that will take away from it at all, in my opinion. So.
Yeah.
It's a 2-minute trailer. I mean, I can't take away from it, really. So.
Yeah, I think everybody have their own is fans of certain things. So I feel like if you're that big of a fan of something, you're gonna follow it out, you know. So,
but to your original point, Tony, I do think even at like because of the whole getting dressed up part and being with people, I feel like it probably can get better at home if they got to do it every year, but it won't get as big as it was, like
right
there and stuff like that. So it's just a different.
It's something about people coming together. It's like, for instance, if you go to the club and it's like 30 people in there and it's all empty, it just don't have that feeling. If you call your boy like, yo, I'm about to come, like, bro, don't even come, man. It ain't nobody in here. Like, all right, you saved me the trip. But if you're like, yo, it's packed, it's like it's a certain atmosphere when it's talked about. It's a huge thing. You got massive people. It's a feeling. It's something you can't reduplicate with not that many people. But again, but over time, maybe, like to your point, maybe over time. But not right now.
Maybe over time. But the way they had it before, you literally had, I think you had to get on for the San Diego one, you had to like get on a list and get chosen to even get a hotel in San Diego during that week. So it's like crazy how big it got. And I'm sad myself that I always wanted to go and I never did. And now I might never get to go again. You know what I mean? So it's just
I agree. Yeah. I got a bunch of friends that went to Comic-Cons and I never did. And I should have went when I was invited a couple times,
Yeah, it's kind of makes you think about, just life in general, like do things while it's available. But that's a whole nother thing. I would save that for the next show that we're doing. But that it, Josh?
Yeah, that's it. And thanks for joining us once again, guys. Appreciate it.
Always, bro. Always. Gotcha.
And guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Definitely.
Yeah, wait. We're about to do a BigMike and Little Ant show. Just want to plug that real quick. So put that on there.
Well, what are you guys going to talk about?
I'll get the agenda real quick, Tony. Let's see. Meanwhile, though, I do want to say Tony and I also watched Ready Player One, which is in this space we're talking about now, over the weekend, and we did a review for my friend Chris's show called Brews with the Crew yesterday. So I don't know if you or Chloe seen Ready Player One, but I would definitely suggest watching that movie and stuff.
Yeah, me too. If you're a gamer, it's kind of like a movie you kind of got to see.
Did you see it, Josh?
Nah, it's not really my thing, but I get the premise from the trailer.
It's not your thing, really? You're a gamer. I'm surprised. Okay.
Nah, not really.
Okay. Well, just a couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some of the stuff going on with the pandemic. Will schools open or not? And if so, how you think it will affect our kids or our parents on our show? We're going to do a little question. What celebrity have you always wanted to meet? And what would you say to them if you met them? And a couple other things. So I'll save, this kind of piece and whatnot. So that's it. So please watch. Chloe, Josh, when it comes out.
When is it dropping? What day?
It'll be out later on tonight.
Oh.
So it should be available tomorrow. Start the week off with BigMike Little Ant. Episode
12.
12? Okay.
12. Yep.
Yep. And then afterwards, watch the full episode of Food for the Culture, episode 7.
Oh, tonight, right? You're right. It comes out also tonight. Yes.
But I don't know if you noticed, but it's been out on a podcast already. And I already broke it up and released it per section.
I did. Yeah, I did.
All
right. All right. Well, thank you guys. Go ahead, Josh. Wrap it up.
Well, yeah. All right, guys. Talk to you soon and enjoy your Sunday.
All right.
Cool. Later.
Bye.